Hello, and welcome to the Ask JDOG podcast. I'd like to take a moment and wish you and your families safety, happiness, and joy over this holiday season. Merry Christmas. Needless to say, it's been a trying time. The most bizarre year in our lifetime, most likely, and very difficult for most of us. But we're going through a transition period, aren't we? You know, a point of inflection in human history, so it seems. Darkness has been brought to light. The corruption that we've all been speculating in big government, big corporations, is really showing itself. It's not hiding anymore in the shadows. It's mechanisms of manipulation and money grabbing is there for all to see. Now, we may differ on our ideological and political opinions, but you know, so many people are really misguided on their own belief systems, and you know, it's not really people's fault that they're not able to discuss politics in an amicable manner. There's been a lot of indoctrination and programming since our birth. So let's get into some positivity in this little podcast episode. And you know, we've all just witnessed a few days ago this rare celestial event of this alignment of planets in our solar system with a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. And some speculate that that is representative of the Bethlehem star, you know, in the nativity story of Jesus Christ. And, you know, for whether you're a Christian or any religion, or just more spiritually sort of tuned in, I've noticed that there's so many people talking about this time of change, and it's come right at a point where things have just escalated to a head in the world, really, but especially in the Western part of the world. And so this conjunction in the spiritual circles, it represents change. It represents moving away from ugliness and bad ways of the past and toxic people. It's like shedding a skin. It's a metamorphosis. And I think we should perceive it that way. You know, I've spoken to so many people this year that I've reconnected with or attempted to reconnect with, and there's been the same sort of thread of conversation. And that is that people are finding out that they don't really have true friends. And this sort of friendship void, you know, of real genuineness and caring for each other seems to have been slipping away and eroded. And it seems definitely like it was with the birth of the social media platforms, social networking. You know, this lie of Mark Zuckerberg wanting to connect the whole world, right? No, it's a power grab. You know, Facebook, it tracks everyone. It sells all their personal information, all the contacts that they know. It's all about theft of your privacy. You are like a product that is being sold and exploited. And unfortunately, a lot of people got so wired into these platforms because of the neuroscience that's behind them. Oh yeah, they hire the world's leading neuroscientists like Vegas casinos do, and like politicians and advertising marketing companies do, right? But these technocratic companies have the biggest power in the world right now, the gatekeepers to knowledge and information, okay? If you're on one of these platforms, if you're on Facebook and you're searching for something on politics, certain things just won't appear. So you've got a sanitized narrative according to that company's ideological worldview. Okay, now I've lived with some of these technocrats. I lived with one of the co-founders of PayPal, who now is, I believe, is a billionaire, and he certainly manages several $1 billion in an investment fund. And, you know, I had this period of time living in San Francisco, and I met some Silicon Valley folks, and they were good people. They were great people, okay, very smart. But we were all going through like sort of self-help workshops and different things and trying to figure out life and get through our childhood traumas and if we had autistic traits and things like that in order to improve our confidence in our dating life. And what I noticed is that a lot of these Silicon Valley folks, they were damaged. They were spoiled. They got millions of dollars thrown at them during the dot-com, and they burnt through it with a complete disregard. Complete disregard. One person, $5 million, started a company, no chance of profit. He laughed about it. He patted his own pockets. Okay, that was the common theme. So now we have these people from Silicon Valley that many of them are sort of psychologically have not gone through a journey to become good charactered individuals. They've got an ideological view where narcissistic, conceited, where they believe that they're smarter than everyone else, and so they can fix the world and make it a version that suits them, regardless of the carnage that it creates, because, again, once the theme of the day, righteousness from the left, right? We can commit any atrocity as long as we believe that we're justified in being righteous, okay? We can silence free speech, and in different countries, or through the internet in every country, we can get people to lose their jobs. We can dox them and whatnot. So there's an ugliness going on, but in parallel with this, there's an awakening. There's an awakening of people becoming more spiritual and questioning what life's about and wanting to be involved with projects that have purpose and meaning and give back to society, right? Because what is my generation, I'm in my 40s, my generation and my parents' generation, well, different. My parents' generation, they suffered. They came from poverty, post-World War II Europe. In their parents' generation, worse. And then I heard about it, and what were we told? Study hard. If you study hard, you'll be able to have a comfortable living. You can have a career, get an education, go into the corporate field, and that was the guidance. And that was good for a while. I made a lot of money personally. I lost a lot of money. I can go into that in another podcast. Now, I will be getting to the uplifting part, so just bear with me. This is sort of the setup. So, my generation went into the workplace, and it was work hard, play hard. It was burn yourself out, and then life became about becoming money-making machines, right? In the corporate world. My experience was primarily in big telecom. And that's not the way to live. We weren't doing anything good. We weren't giving back. And I've got multiple degrees in engineering. I don't have any medical background, but there's a lot of research studies out there, and I've worked hands-on your mobile phone networks all across the country. Okay. I've worked on like the minimum project, $100 million, going up to $1 billion project. It's big money. And guess what? It's not safe. It's not biological safe for our bodies. We are electromagnetic beings, okay? Now, there isn't any major thing to worry about right now, but I will get into that in another episode. But the principle is that now we see, there's been an amazing thing. There's been a split in reality, in people's realities, multiple splits. And one of these separations is that there are those people still stuck in the ways of the past, right? And their way of the past is living superficially, narcissistically, self-indulgently, living to make money, right? Money is their god. They'll sell people out for money. They'll stab you in the back for money, right? They'll work for a company that's unethical, and they know it, as long as they make more money. Now, we're heading into a time where people are concerned. They're concerned, right? People have a fear right now about being able to earn money and pay their bills into the future. There's a movement to homestead, to get back to being more self-reliant. But there are other people that since the birth of the internet, they were able to connect, and they are higher vibrational people. And rather than seeking a job that just pays them the most, they've been setting up businesses and joining businesses that are actually creating good in the world. You know, like a clothing company that doesn't use sweatshops, and every time you buy a t-shirt or a pair of shoes, they donate the same item or a similar item to families and people in need in developing countries. You know, fixing problems to have products with less plastic, all sorts of amazing things. Oh, microloans to developing countries, right? We've seen incredible things, amazing millions of good people in the world, right? But the old paradigm of doing business needs to change. The old paradigm of doing business is destroying the planet. It's pitting us against each other. And it's not that capitalism is bad, you know. Communism it'll destroy the world, but it's not that capitalism is bad. It's that we have a pseudo-capitalistic system. We've allowed corruption. Look, anytime there's concentrations of power in a structure where people have authority over others, eventually that system becomes poison. It becomes so corrupt that it's not serving its function. And this is the state that we're in today, right? So what's the positivity? Well, the positivity is we're going through this transition. We're more aware of the specifics of where the corruption is. And guess what? These companies, these powerful entities, these government agencies, they're all trying to distract us with their propaganda machine. And the propaganda machine is the national news networks, the traditional networks and publications that we've been led to believe and to trust, right? But the internet is showing it for what it is for those that want to look. You know, you can see how scripted it is. Different companies, different news networks competing with each other in different cities. And the news anchors are saying the exact same thing. They're reading it from the audio cue. Now they think it's created by their own investigative journalists. Well, if that's the case, and there isn't someone pulling the strings, then why are these different networks? Why are they all reading the same script? Okay, so we're seeing things like this come out. We're seeing white hat hacker leaks. We're seeing the WikiLeaks and the Edward Snowden and many other different things. And then we're seeing these alternative news channels where the real investigative journalists go that care about people over money. Because when you fix real world problems, when you create real value in the world, you will be compensated. Sometimes you'll be compensated less than if you just go after the money where you're doing something that you know is not right, that doesn't sit well with you. Sometimes you'll be compensated far more beyond what you could have thought. You know, but the point is that when you do the right thing, you'll be compensated, and you're doing the right thing that's fixing problems and doing good in society, you will be compensated, okay? And of course, if you're religious, then God will take care of you. He will provide as long as we do the work. So what's the positivity here? The positivity is a little practice that you may have heard of that you can find a lot of information about on the internet. And that is, it's called Ho'oponopono. And it's a practice from Hawaii and also some other countries in the South Pacific. And there's, you know, maybe it's not just what you say in a meditation, there's a little ritual to it. And it can be used for different ways. But the way that I see it as being a value, it's a bit like in 12-step programs, and also in Christianity for dealing with problems. You know, what do I hear from my Christian friends? My friend Minister Lynn Nicoletti is to pray for other people, right? And this is counterintuitive. If someone treats me badly, why would I want to pray for them? You know, so really, let's get into letting go, forgiveness, and moving on. Because without having the capacity to forgive, and some people have done very bad things to others out there, maybe you've had that happen to you. I mean, I've had some difficult things to forgive in my life. I won't go into them right now, but I talk to people about forgiveness, and some people just look at me like, well, that's good for you. I can't do that. You don't know what has happened to me. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Try saying that to people when they're waiting for you to finish so they can just talk their talking points. Don't tell people that they don't understand. They don't like it. Their ego comes out to like disagree with you. But no, they don't understand, because when we forgive people in a profound way, we release the resentment. We release the power that that person has over us that is still damaging our life, because we've been holding on. It's like if somebody hates somebody else, they have to do a lot of mental work. They have to put in work to continue hating that person that's no longer in their life for something that they did to them, right? And in subtle ways, that's going to lead to worse outcomes in their life. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's profound. It depends on how many people you can't forgive and let go of that have hurt you in the past. The other thing that happens is that when people have been abused or taken advantage of, especially at a young age, right, then they're more likely to be victims to abuse again in the future, right? So it's profoundly important for people that have had experiences with evil, corrupt, or shitty people in the world, that you go through a practice of releasing that energy so you can rise into a high vibration. Okay, you got to rid yourself of hate and guilt and all these low vibrational states of being that makes us wallow in negativity, and it prevents us from being able to enjoy the present and build a very profoundly wonderful future. Okay? I mean, most of the time, that other person's moved on. If they're a shitty person, I mean, a really evil, bad person, then they've done shit to other people as well, to a lot of people. They're not remembering everyone. They're not making themselves feel sick about it. They're not limiting their life experience. No, it's the victim. The victim carries it with them. And even if they don't think about it and the person's not in their mind, something at some point reminds them. But even if that doesn't happen, it's squashed down into a compartment in their subconscious, in their psychology. Okay, and that's wired into their physiology. It's like the mind-body connection. Are we a spiritual being having a physical experience? Are we having an imaginary experience from consciousness? Or is there just a mind-body connection that's mechanistic? Well, whatever your beliefs are, or your contemplations on these things, the outcome's the same. And that is that when we don't let go of those past events, they have control over us in the present, and they limit our future experience of having joy and happiness, right? So there's this practice that people are sort of changing around a little bit, called Ho'oponopono. And it's to, let's say you've got someone in your life and you've got a disagreement and a conflict, but you don't want to trash that relationship. They've not done anything terrible, right? And nor have you to them. So it's fixable. So what a lot of people do, they've got their own frustrations, their biases, their developmental trauma and whatnot, and their fragility in their psyches and defensive egos. And next time they see each other, they'll try and hash it out. And a lot of times they'll just come at each other head on. It's like, I don't like what you say, this is what I believe. The other one will be like, I don't like what you say, this is what I believe. And then it escalates. It's like two little children, right? It's ridiculous. But we do it. We do it a lot, don't we? So in that circumstance, the Christian standpoint would be pray for that person, pray on it. Eastern thought or New Age spiritualism would be meditate. Meditate on this, and with good feelings towards the other person, right? You want the issue between you to sort of dissolve, right? So you can work through it and develop a better relationship rather than harboring resentments. So Ho'oponopono allows people to do that also. You go through, it's like a meditation. You can state your case up front. I'm not going to explain the practice because there's amazing videos about it. But I'm saying if you're holding on to resentment from someone that hurt you in the past, look up the practice of Ho'oponopono. And don't just do it once, because we're complex beings and we can't just change and recreate ourselves and shed off things that have dark and ugly power over us in order to move towards the light and a happy, more fulfilling future. It doesn't just happen in an instant. Rarely it does. It takes practice because we're working against ingrained habits, and our ingrained habits become who we are. Our thoughts become who we are. So we got to be aware of where our thoughts are at any given time. And if they're unhealthy for us, we got to have a practice to realign them in the present moment. Sometimes to reframe the past. So this is a great practice. So yes, if you're having trouble or conflict, then look up the Ho'oponopono practice. It's similar to how we pray for others in Christianity and in other religions. And it's similar to how we might meditate on things in Eastern thought with detachment, right? It's like we want to remove that attachment of meaning so that it doesn't, so that it dissolves, right? Now, but the deeper principle here is someone that's really wronged you and hurt you in your life. Like think of the worst situation that could happen to someone that someone else perpetrates. Well, you can imagine it would be very difficult to forgive for that person that was a victim. They're the ones that need to find a practice that allows them to forgive and detach and remove that meaning and have that connection dissolved. That is the most important case. Maybe it's the Ho'oponopono prayer to do that. Maybe it's something else. And, people have said to me, but how can I pray for someone else? I'm like, listen, you have to pray and forgive someone else. Leave the judgment to a higher power so that your subconscious mind, your physiology, your health and well-being is no longer processing that hatred, that sickness. They didn't just do one thing to you. But because we're complex and because we try and protect ourselves so much, subconsciously and with the ego, that we actually take those things that have happened to us and we hold on. We hold on to them really tight, don't we? Right? We hold on to them and then we suppress them down and we put them out of our minds. But we're holding on to them. It's like there's an invisible fucking connection between you and that bad person. Well, you don't want a connection to those people with their negative energies, right? And you don't want to enact revenge or anything like that. And it's not going to be an opportunity later on. If we weren't, let's say, in a position where we could go through the correct legal channels or, pursue legal or the correct ramification for closure at the time, then you got to let it go. And even if you did go through that process, no matter how it worked out, we have to sever that connection to the evil people in the world that have hurt us. Or to circumstances that have hurt us, where maybe the person wasn't evil, they were a victim too, they didn't know what they were doing. It wasn't their intention. Whatever, but let's get specifics with people that have wronged you in the past. So, how do we pray for someone like that? An evil person? Well, what I do is, I'll pray to God to guide them to recognize the errors of their ways and to transition and to change so that they can become a good person and do good in the world. That's one thing that I do. And then I wish them the best. I pray to God to watch over them and guide them. And I wish them the best. And then if He wishes to judge them, that's between God and that other person. And then I pray for the ability to release that connection so that it's not a burden on me anymore. So that I harbor no feelings So it's out of my awareness. And if I do think about it, it's neutral. I want it out of my system. I don't want that connection there anymore, dragging me down into negative thinking. It's like, there's a lot of reality in media, right? So like Star Wars, what happens in Star Wars with the Jedi? Well, the Jedi are very powerful. We're very powerful creatures as well. We really are. And the Jedi are super powerful because they can control and tap into this essence, the Force, the ether, if you like. And but when they tap into it, coming from a place of anger and resentments and hatred, well, they join the dark side. And why is that? Well, it's because when a person is filled with those emotions, even no matter if they think they're a good person or they do good things in the world, if they're filled with those emotions, well, it does poison them. It poisons their soul. It releases the cynic, and then everything's wrong and everything's bad, and they just want to get revenge on things, and they've got a short fuse and they want to snap. And that makes people sick, really, in a very real sense. And it also makes the world a worse place. It's like the world is a dangerous, fucked up place, right? There's so much horrors that go on in the world, and they're perpetrated by people. So, if we want a healthy and happy life, then it's important that we recognize these aspects of what it means to be human, and we recognize when we are going into a dark path. And we have to realize there's no justification. There's these old things like if you're going to enact revenge, then you better dig 2 graves. So that's why prayer to forgive someone is really a self-healing process, and it removes that person, it removes that connection. It allows us to move away from hate, away from anger, away from resentments, away from all those suppressed and boxed off feelings for that circumstance and that person. So then we can start filling that back up then with coming from a place of love and understanding in the world. Because whatever we think in our minds and whatever we're dealing with has an effect that other people sense when we're out and about, whether we're dating or going to work or just grabbing a coffee, whatever. And then the world and other people will reflect that back to us. Right? So you can see it if you're in a bad mood, for example, and you're doing things, then you're not going to get people asking you how you're doing and smiling at you. I mean, there may be the occasional, very rare, very intuitive person that'll see you're dealing with something, and they'll maybe just say the right thing to make you feel better and have a laugh or something. But again, what we think, it permeates out of us. We call this like vibrational energy or emotional state, right? And similarly, if you're just having a great day, you're just super happy, and something amazing happened, and you're smiling, and you can't get it out of your head. It's great. And you go out into the world. You are beaming, and other people, you're radiating joy outwards, and other people see it and they want to be around it. And then that's an upward spiral, because positive vibration, it's like magnetism. Positive vibration attracts positive vibration. Low vibration attracts low vibration. That's why they say misery loves company, So this is my little tip in this transition period that we're going through with all the upset in the world and the difficulties, is to move on, to forgive, and remove those connections to people that have hurt you from the past. You'll find it profoundly beneficial in your life moving forwards. And with that, I will again wish you a happy and safe new year, and pray for you all that this 2020 moves in a positive direction and we can get back to normalcy, and that the world becomes safe again. God bless and good night. And I'll be doing another podcast real soon. Take care, everyone.